Hey, good morning, and welcome back to the Evil Dungeon Masters AD&D Universe podcast. Hopefully you're doing well out there. I know I am. It's the weekend. It's Friday. Did I say it's the weekend? It's not the weekend officially yet. It's Friday. Hopefully you got some gaming going on this weekend to get this by on the weekend, or maybe you're reading an RPG book, planning something. Maybe you're writing something out. Maybe you're just sitting there rolling dice because that's what you like to do. Anyway, hopefully you're doing well. That's all I want to know. If not, hopefully things get better for you. Today, we're going to be talking about a bunch of things on the podcast today. But first, ask the DM at theevildm.com. Theevildm.com is my website. You can go there for all the things I'm doing. As well as if you want to help me out, go to patreon.com/theevildm, where you can get some write-ups and special videos. I got some things going up on point crawls for video for members. I also have a poll up for what you want to see. I also have a freebie up on for basic fantasy, talking about dragons in basic fantasy. I made up some new dragons for you. I have a video up on aliens in D&D talking about that. Bunch of write-ups going up on the next couple of days for basic fantasy. Right now, since I'm running basic fantasy for my group, I'm just doing that. Anyway, that's patreon.com/evilDM. Enough about that. Let's head into today's topic of choice. Today we're talking about monsters today. We're talking about the Wraith. Yeah, the Wraith. The Wraith generally is a creature that we're all familiar with in games, and generally they will be in a lot of games, especially when you had read some old school modules for D&D when it came to classic D&D in a box and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. When they always had modules, they always had a Wraith or a Wight thrown in those like weird areas or in the random monster tables. These two monsters between the Wight and the Wraith were always kind of in there in the background, never actually used for anything more than just random monsters or just a placement of something to make the players run. Uh, these creatures, the Wraiths, are what would classically call oh shit run for D&D, because they do make you run. With a hit dice of 5+3, they are formidable, especially for low level characters. When it gets up higher, yeah, maybe not so much, but they do have that drain ability. So let's talk about them real quick here. They're uncommon. They're 2 to 12 appearing, so 2d6. Armor class of 4, 12, 24 movement. Hit dice 5+3. They're in their lair 25%, so they're not always in their lair. Generally, they're just wandering around these dark, gloomy places of sorrow and stuff like that. Treasure type is the number of attacks is 1d6 damage, but their main thing is that energy drain. They can only be hit by silver or magical weapons to get them. Magic resistance, we'll talk about that in a minute. They're very intelligent creatures. They're lawful evil and man-sized in size. Man-sized in size, yeah. So Wraiths are undead, similar in nature to Wights, but they exist more strongly on the negative material plane. They are found only in dark and gloomy places where they have no power in full sunlight. That's one of their massive weaknesses. In addition to the chilling effects of its touch of 1d6 points of damage, a Wraith drains a life energy at the rate of +1 per hit, meaning levels, just as a Wight does. Similarly, the Wraith can be struck only with silver weapons, which cause only 1/2 damage, or weapons which are magically enhanced, or enchanted, which will do full damage on. Now, when it comes to slain victims for a Wraith, it will rise the next sunset unless the body is blessed, burned, or otherwise sanctified or resurrected or whatever. So if it gets slain, it's going to rise up as a Wraith the next sunset. So be wary of that as well. Now, Wraith are very, very intelligent creatures. They're not stupid, and they shouldn't be treated as such, as a boring attack type swipe. Obviously the Wraith knows that it's in a dark and gloomy area, so what are they going to do first? What would be their first logical move in an area where they're fighting a bunch of adventurers because they want to drain their energy in this dark and gloomy place? They're going to want to head for those torchbearers, people holding the torch. It's going to want to extinguish the light, not because it's a weakness for them. It's because it knows that light is your source to see. Now, yeah, you could. There's some characters, obviously, races, excuse me, that could see in the dark without the torch, but a wraith will know if they're holding a torch. Some people in that group need that torch to see. So go after the torchbearers, hit them, extinguish that torch, and now you have an advantage as a wraith. When wraiths fight, generally, they're not going to be a force that's just going to stand there and take a beating and hit and take a beating. No, no, no. You want to keep the fear up with wraiths. When you drop a wraith into the game, you want to drop, obviously there's 2 to 12 showing up at once. So you're going to at least have 2 no matter what you do at any given time for your group. Now, they could be low levels, or they could be the equivalent or higher. It doesn't really matter. The Wraith is still going to attempt to try to go get what they want. And that's that energy from the players. Now, my suggestion for running Wraiths, and you want to keep that fear strong with Wraiths because that's what they're good at, is fight in motion. Hit, withdraw, hide, circle around, and then come back when the light falters when they're not watching. Hit from behind, run. Maybe they take a hit when they run, that's fine, but they think it's gone, it goes through a wall, whatever, comes back again, swipe, scare them at the whatever moment you possibly can. Drop from the rafters, rise through the ground, glide over them glide over people, things like that. Play the long game. They are not stupid. These creatures will want to just like jump in and attack and then flee, letting the players think they're safe, and then boom, hit them again when they're not safe. They're not dumb, and it could be played really a lot of fun for a DM that knows how to use these creatures. Now, speaking of level drain, a lot of people don't find that very fair that these creatures can do that, but that's the way they were designed when it came to these creatures. And I remember I had a long time ago, I remember I had a player argue with me that a healing spell would return the level drain. Well, no, it doesn't. So they argued about, it would easily restore. I'm like, no. Only restoration magic will get rid of that, or some other way, maybe a wish or something, or limited wish. But it doesn't heal levels. It only heals damage, and that's it. So a wraith could be used a lot. If you're going to fight a wraith and you find a wraith, you're going to want to get them into daylight, some type of daylight. Otherwise, you are going to be screwed unless your group has silver weapons or magical weapons to back them up. Regular weapons are just going to fly right through. And there are other ways that a wraith can actually walk around and stuff like that when it's not completely dark outside or gloomy or whatever. It could literally walk in the middle of the halls of a building with stained glass windows on it. Yeah, think about that. It's noon and there's a wraith floating around in this room because the sunlight, while the light does come through stained glass windows, it does keep the true sunlight itself out. So there's a way for you to work around this to get wraiths in your campaign when players think they're safe. And you can, and just thinking about it, you can actually have a world, a post-apocalyptic world where it's just wraiths. And maybe there is an evil, let's say, necromancer or an evil magic user that's figured a way to block the sunlight in the world, kind of like the old evil, like Cobra Commander things, or an evil Skeletor thing where he wants to block the light from the world. Well, this necromancer, wizard, whatever you want to call him, blocks the light. He figures out a way. Since wraiths are intelligent, I don't see an issue why a wraith and a magic user could not strike a deal together where he says, maybe the wraith has had him cornered for his life, and he says to him, and he does some type of comprehend languages or whatever he does, and he says, listen, I have this idea and it'll help you out. If you let me survive, I will work with you to get you what you want. So the Wraith, being very intelligent, will be like, all right, I would, as a DM, I would definitely have this situation. Okay, the Wraith will listen, and he's like, listen, I'm going to block the sun from the world. I have this spell or whatever ritual that will block it from the world. I have to maintain it somehow, blah, blah, blah. And he goes through the whole process. And what this means for you is you work with me and you can build an army and you can go out during the day, during the night. You can float around the worlds and not have to worry about sunlight anymore and just drain people and make more. You can take over the world with me as your partner, and we could form this whole army of things. And it's a Wraith world. Instead of like a zombie apocalypse, now the people have to fight against Wraiths. And that's their common enemy, is these just tons and tons of Wraiths. And what you could do is maybe you could turn them into lesser Wraiths, like, every time, kind of like vampires and Vampire the Masquerade. When one Wraith becomes a Wraith, another Wraith makes another Wraith, and they're different generations and they get weaker and weaker. And you can, have them so that the Wraiths will, instead of draining levels all the time, maybe like the higher Wraiths will do that because they're the first generation. And then other generations of these Wraiths, maybe they don't do that. Maybe they drain and burn or something. Every time they touch you, they leave burn marks on you and they do damage that way. And they temporarily drain constitution from you, so they make you weak. And enough of that, and you die, and you could become a Wraith as well. Kind of like the whole zombie apocalypse thing, but now you have a Wraith apocalypse thing going on. I kind of like this idea of the whole dark world, and it becomes a Wraith apocalypse. I think I'm going to write that up and put that on my Patreon for people, because I think people will find that really interesting to use. But yeah, tell me what you think in the comments below about Wraiths. I mean, there's so many ways you can do this with Wraiths. I don't know. I really enjoy creatures like this that can just kind of stalk, prey, and then attack, run, attack. It's kind of a fear factor type thing, like your ghosts and stuff like that. But tell me what you think in the comments below, or either on Spotify or on youtube.com/evilDM, which is my YouTube channel. Hopefully you are having a good weekend, or whenever you're listening to this. I appreciate everybody that listens and downloads, and a lot of people do, and I really appreciate that. So I'm glad that AD&D is still a topic of conversation on everybody's mind, and that I'm keeping the roll for initiative torch burning when the rest of the group is kind of faded out. With that said, I'm going to head out, keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, and God bless everyone.